Good morning. I'm Bob Swindell, President and CEO of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our sixth event in this year's Alliance Virtual Leadership Speaker Series. Today we have what is sure to be a lively and informative and entertaining session. Jordan Zimmerman, founder and chairman of Zimmerman Advertising, and a conversation with Marc Cannon, Executive Vice President and Chief Customer Experience Officer for AutoNation. Not only are they two amazing leaders in our community and two amazing communicators, but they're also friends. So this morning, you'll have an hour to spend with them and get a real feel for not only the bond that they have between them, but also their approach to business and their approach to life in general. Before we begin, I want to thank our series sponsors who are listed on the screen, and the South Florida Business Journal, our annual series media sponsor, for their sponsorship. And now onto our program. Today's moderator is Marc Cannon, Executive Vice President and Chief Customer Experience Officer for AutoNation, one of our CEO Council members. Marc was appointed to this position in April of last year. Prior to that, he served as the Chief Marketing Officer, Executive Vice President of Brand Marketing. He's an innovative leader and communicator with more than 30 years of experience in establishing brands, addressing digital disruption, driving corporate social responsibility, and crisis management. Marc has been instrumental in the growth of AutoNation into the country's largest and most successful automotive retailer. In particular, he supervised the brand launch of AutoNation's Coast to Coast initiative and part of the executive team that launched AutoNation Express, the company's industry-leading digital platform, which seamlessly integrates the customer's in-store experience with their online experience. He also spearheads the company's multi-year mission to raise funds to fight cancer. Marc has a bachelor's degree in public affairs from the University of Miami. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce my good friend and a great friend to our community, Marc Cannon.
Hey, Bob, thank you so much. And thank you for all that you guys do. It's absolutely fabulous. So I'm very lucky. Jordan and I go back 20 years. And as you know, Jordan is the lifeblood of Zimmerman Advertising. And many folks don't know, but major advertising corporations are usually headquartered in New York or Los Angeles or Chicago. Can you imagine right here in Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, we have one of the top 10 agencies in the United States. And you know, there's so many things I can say about Jordan. And of course, I know his favorite customer is AutoNation, his favorite account is AutoNation. But I think one of the most important things and tells you about Jordan, in 2015, he was inducted into the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans. And that is just such a huge honor. And I was so glad to be part of that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you, Jordan Zimmerman.
Hi, Marc.
Hey,
my favorite client in the whole United States and the world, Marc Cannon.
I know, 20 years, Jordan. Can you imagine we've made it 20 years together? And you know how difficult I can be, but 20 years we've made it together.
Marc, we've done incredible things in 20 years. Incredible.
Yeah, we really have.
What a brand we built.
Unbelievable. So Jordan, let's sort of dive in. And because you and I have been in constant communication, we talk pretty regularly, saw each other last week for breakfast at the OB house, had a great time and all that. Let's talk a little bit about leadership, because leadership is such an important issue, especially coming off something like the pandemic. And, you know, we're in recovery mode right now. What was it like for you to be leading an enterprise like Zimmerman Advertising when the world was literally upside down?
You know, Marc, in my 30 plus years of running and building Zimmerman with an incredible team and incredible clients, that was probably the scariest time we as a company and my clients have ever been through. The world stopped. And in that April last year, our revenues dropped by 70% in a single month. And we didn't know when and if it was going to come back. So being a leader in that time took perseverance, took confidence, how to be a great coach, how to be inspiring, and really how to work harder than we've ever worked in the last, 10 years, because you had to bring everyone back together and give them the confidence that we as a company were going to not only survive this, but we were going to thrive during it, and we were going to help our clients do the same.
how did you motivate your management team? And I know you've got a different approach than a lot of folks, because you're engaged all the way down to the lowest levels, all the way up to the top. And that's something that the folks at your agency respect. And obviously, knowing you for 20 years and working with the agency, I understand that. How did you motivate your next tier below you to make sure they were motivating the folks down there, getting the job done day to day?
It's interesting. We started to have daily scrums. So every night, I'm still talking to my executive management team every single night at 5 o'clock. We started those calls then, and we realized we were working in silos. And those calls brought us together every single night. And then every department opened up every morning with an 8 or 8:30 scrum call with the department, and they delegated the work for the day, talked about the work from the day before, and they really worked exceptionally hard at making that happen every single day and inspiring everyone around them. And then it's always about timelining, Mark, the same way you guys did it. You kept everyone in every dealership inspired to come to work every day and gave them the confidence that we're doing it safely and respectfully for them and their families.
So, let's just talk about that. In communicating to folks with the whole issue about leadership, now we face a little bit of a different challenge. Everybody needs people to work. Everybody needs people to be to get hired. There's open jobs everywhere. In fact, with the agency, we're basically putting the fact that we've got jobs available on our TV spots. I mean, in my 20 years of doing this and running advertising here, I never thought the day would come where I'd put, we've got jobs available. How are you, one, managing that in your agency, filling those jobs? And what are other clients telling you about filling jobs?
Let me go to other clients first. One of our clients, as you know, is McDonald's. And we ran a job fair for McDonald's 2 weeks ago. And we had 2 people show up, 2. And we would usually get hundreds of people showing up. It is either we have not figured out how to get people in this new world into jobs, or they don't want to work because they make more money staying at home. And that's a scary proposition. But it goes the other side as well, Mark, the side of how do you get everybody to come back? It's been a year. In fact, it's been over a year that they've been out of the office, many people. Now we have over 50% of our people back, but we want them all to come back. But we want them all to come back safely. Everyone's had the opportunity now to get vaccine. If they haven't, they will get one very, very soon. We still have we have a big building here, 150,000 square feet. We have proper social spacing within the building. We have proper systems and processes that make it a place safe to work. We've not had one case of somebody spreading COVID within the agency itself, even as the executive management team worked 100% since last May, we started coming back.
Jordan, you talk a little bit about that. So it's interesting because we never left here. We've got dealerships to run. We were never closed. We had to deal with all types of things, childcare, all those types of things. And, today we're at 75% back. We'll be 100% back. June 14th is the day we come back, 100%. But right now, most folks in our office are in at minimum 3 days a week. And we have still some rotation coming, especially in some of our departments, IT, where we have a tighter environment. Vaccines, like in your organization, I know how well they're going here. We have on-site vaccinations and stuff like that. But how do you deal from a leadership standpoint with that person who might not want to come back? How do you navigate that? Because I know in your organization that day is coming where you're going to have 100% people back in the office.
Mark, we have a really good HR department, and I think, and we have really, really great directors in the agency. Directors that run media, directors that run creative, directors that run strategy. Every department has great directors. Those directors have to inspire their associates to come back. They've got to somehow, some way, because there's going to be a point that we're going to say, look, either you come back or we're going to replace you. There's a point of no return. We have been patient. We've let people work from home, but we have to come together. We do better work together than we do apart. And You're seeing it in every company. You see the roadways every day get more and more crowded down here. It was kind of good during the beginning of the pandemic because you can get to work a lot quicker than I could now getting to work. So I think that, we don't ever want to have to use the heavy hammer. We want to be able to inspire, and we want people to come back because they want to be here. But let me make it clear. Some people don't want to be here. Some people don't want to work anymore, but they like collecting the paycheck, being at home. So there's a big difference. Do you want to come to work or do you want to stay home? If you want to stay home, unemployment is for that and the government is for that.
It's interesting. Jamie Dimon this week said, enough of Zoom. I'm over Zoom. Goldman Sachs, I think, is going to have folks in the office at least 3 to 4 days a week, beginning, I think it's June 15th. So obviously people realize it. One of the things that we've noticed is you have to be together. There are certain things that the only way you're successful is to have that conversation. So talking about your clients, how are you managing those conversations remote? And our clients wanting to now get back together in person?
We've had in-person meetings in the office. We had one just yesterday. I applauded Jamie Dimon because I said to my wife, I've never worked this hard. I go from Zoom call to team call to hangout call. I'm on calls all day long. I said to my assistant, you can't book me back to back to back to back. Before you know it, it's 5 o'clock. You haven't even eaten lunch. You haven't even stepped out and you're on all these calls. So how we're handling it right now is we're doing team and Zoom calls all day long with the clients. And yeah, it's become very efficient and a good way, but also you need that interaction. You need to be together. So a couple of the clients have come into town and we've been able to meet with them, and other clients prefer still to stay on Zoom or team. But the airlines, traffic is starting to pick back up. People, I think, are tired of staying at home. I think they're tired of being on Zoom and team. And I think they miss the interaction of being with people. And I think that's what you and I have instilled within our organizations. I've watched how you have steered AutoNation and inspired so many to come back way earlier than many other people. And I think the way you set up your safety guidelines was absolutely brilliant. What you shared with me, I appreciate it because I adopted a lot of those cultures as well. So I believe we're in a good place. I believe we're all moving towards a good direction. I believe this was the first time that since 1917, 18, the United States has had a pandemic like we just had. And it's unfortunate, but I think we learned a lot. We learned a lot about efficiency and how to operate, not only with together, but apart. But I think we miss each other and we miss being together.
Let's talk a little bit about one of your other clients, Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because they're dropping the donuts and they're keeping the Dunkin'. And I know you've got a lot of thoughts about branding because obviously you've done fabulous work with AutoNation and numerous other clients, but talk a little bit about the philosophy there and why a company makes a move like that.
It's interesting. If you remember when we grew up, the whole campaign was it's time to make the donuts. And what they realized was donuts are not as in vogue as they were in the 50s and 60s and even the early 70s. What they realized was breakfast foods and are bigger and better and healthier, for the people. They also realized they're a coffee shop and they compete heavily with Starbucks and they know it. And people prefer Starbucks or people prefer Dunkin', and they've really diversified their coffee offerings. Also, they wanted to become the Dunkin' brand. They were just taken over by Inspire Brands for $8.2 billion, which is pretty amazing. Inspire's out of Georgia. And they're just a well-run machine. When Nigel Travis became the chairman there, he was my ex-client from Papa John's. And what he saw was the expansion of the menu, the diversification of the offering of the menu, and breakfast and lunch became huge opportunities.
Yeah, it's a little depressing because, Jordan used to bring us donuts and everything. It was really great. And then Dunkin' drops the donuts and now I get this crappy, healthy stuff. I mean, come on, Jordan. You can bring back the donuts. It's not a big deal. We still like them, and I like the chocolate glaze. I'll remind you in case you want to start bringing them back. Let's talk about the Horatio Alger Award, because that was, that's one of the most incredible moments. And I've been lucky. I've been part of Wayne Heisinger's. I was part of Mike Jackson's, and obviously part of yours. Talk a little bit about what that means, and because that is a lot about leadership, and it's about coming from nowhere and becoming that leader and just doing so much to inspire people. Talk about what that meant for you and what it means today.
Well, Mark, first, it's a big thank you to you, to Wayne Heisinger, to Mike Jackson, Bob Brown. I mean, I had some incredible support and sponsors behind me. For those of you that don't know Horatio is an amazing, quiet organization. And I went there the year before to celebrate it with Mike Jackson. And I'd never seen an award ceremony that was so meaningful and so purposeful before. It starts in the Supreme Court of the United States, where you get anointed. And it's amazing. You get anointed by Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, who's an amazing, amazing man. And I know Wayne was very close with him because at the funeral, Clarence was there. But more importantly, their heart and their soul is in the right place. What they do is they put 100 national scholars through college every year and 1,400 state scholars through college every year. And everyone that is a Horatio recipient has demonstrated their ability to give back, their ability to pay it forward, and their ability to be a dynamic leader. So when I was nominated, and I said this to Mike Jackson, I said, Mike, I'm so honored that you all think of me that way, and I've already won. And everyone warned you, including Marc, you don't ever win the first year, Jordan. This is a journey. And I was fortunate. I was inducted the first year. It was the most amazing accomplishment of my life. Being able to be anointed in the Supreme Court and 3 days of celebration. And the celebration is really hearing from the students and their amazing stories of perseverance. Because many of them started like many of us with absolutely nothing or below nothing. And the stories you hear make you laugh and make you cry. So Horatio is an amazing, amazing organization. Anyone listening in, you should Google it, you should read about it. And as you accomplish your success in life, pay it forward by supporting Horatio. I could tell you, it is a great, fulfilling opportunity.
So let's go back a little bit now to advertising a little bit. And so when we first started together a long time ago, we were running gun and jamming like you couldn't imagine. It was all about the price. It was all about the price. I mean, we were banging away about the price. We used to fight about all that language at the bottom of it. You used to tell me I used to have to do it. I told you, Jordan, just stop being like that. Just get that crap off the screen. But we went through all that stuff. But really, advertising is somewhat changed. And now, I think, talk a little bit about the approach, because I know you do this with other clients too. It's no longer the hard sell. It's now more about the soft sell, the brand, the identifying of what the company really stands for. And how has that sort of evolved? And I mean, using us as an example over 20 years is great, but I mean, there's other folks too that you guys have dealt with, Sam's Club and, as you say, McDonald's. So talk a little bit about where we've come from in the last 20 years.
Marc, purpose. AutoNation has a bigger purpose than selling cars. And when we all aligned, you, Mike Jackson, myself, your board of directors, that we were going to have a bigger purpose. And that purpose was our pink license plate, that we're out there to cure breast cancer, plain and simple. And every car we sold, we were going to donate to cure breast cancer. Every car we serviced, we were going to donate to cure breast cancer. Every car that we sold them and serviced, we were going to put a pink license plate on that car so you could demonstrate you're supporting a company that has a purpose greater than profitability. The purpose is to cure cancer. And if we knew that would attract, And I remember I heard a story from Mike Jackson. He said, I was driving through a drive-through the week we launched the campaign, and the woman at the window said to me, she said, "Do you work at AutoNation?" Because he had his shirt on. He said, "I do." She said, "Do you have a pink plate on your car?" He said, "Yes, of course I do." And she said, "I'm going to too. I'm going tonight to get mine." She was going to buy a car. And that was so fulfilling for Mike and I know for you as well, because the purpose connected to the heart and soul of America. And back then, we didn't know that America needed more purpose-based brands. Our gut told us that. Our research told us that. People in the community wanted to know that the brand did more than just sell things. And it absolutely made us.
So talking about something, so before, in your introduction, I basically talked a lot about, look, all the big agencies are in New York, they're in Chicago, they're in LA, and God, we are so lucky that in South Florida right here, we've got one of the 10 greatest and biggest agencies in the United States sitting right here. And it's very unusual. Fort Lauderdale, you wouldn't think, and I know Bob Swindell will love this. So the question is, how do you recruit here? And what type of folks are you looking for right now in 2021 that might be different than it was in 2019? So it's a two-part question. How do we get people here? And why do people want to come here? And the second of all is, what exactly are you looking to recruit in the new world?
So it's really a great question. Number one, I started down here because I didn't know what I was really doing, because I had no money and I was living at home in the back room of my parents' house in Sunrise, Florida, on a sleeper sofa. So, and it was a hope and a prayer. Never was my dream as big as the dream has become. And it's just, I've been on this incredible ride that I don't want to get off. Today, it's so easy to recruit people to Florida. Everybody from the Northeast that works in advertising and marketing wants to work in one of the greatest states in America. I think we did a spot with Bob Swindell years ago that Wayne ended the spot. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. No state income tax. There's not many states today that don't have state income tax. I know it's New Texas and us are two of the states that don't. But more importantly than that, people are flocking to our state faster than they ever have before. I heard a number the other day. I think it's 2,500 people a day are coming to our state, which is really pretty amazing. Where we're really growing is in our social and digital platforms, but really our trading desk. Today, Marc and I are using some incredible media tactics, one of them called the hyperlocal platform that allows us to target and send messages through connected televisions in anyone's house. And once we're into your connected television, as Marc and I laugh about, is we then have your IP address. So we now can connect to all the devices in your home and send messages to you. And we can dynamically create different messages. So we need more people in our studios. We need more people in our trading. We have 16 people on our trading desk. We need to hire 10 immediately on the trading desk. We need more people in digital and social creative. So those are the areas that we're really recruiting for all around the country.
And Jordan, what are you looking for in those people? What's a key attribute as the leader of the agency that you're looking for in those folks?
Marc, you and I are very similar. I want people that are hungry and have desire, and don't wake up and look at a clock, but wake up and want to do what they love to do every day. You and I are very blessed. We're doing something every day that we love to do every day. And it's not like work. Work has become our new sport. And every day, that new sport that we're doing allows us to do amazing things and change people's lives. So I think those are the kind of people we look for. It's funny because people say, I've hired people with Harvard degrees. I've hired people with Yale degrees, Columbia degrees. The degree doesn't mean anything. Sorry to say, guys. What really means something is the person themselves. The hunger, the desire of the person, their willingness to learn, their willingness to listen, and the willingness to open their mind to be the greatest they could possibly be. And I know you 100% agree with that.
No, so it's interesting. So my daughter is in the car business, as you know, and I know Rita Case interviewed Mike a couple of weeks ago, and her kids are in the car business. And that's exactly it. It's about being hungry. And it's about wanting that, and it's the drive. And it's right. It is sort of like a sport. It's an event. And, my kids like yours are very competitive. I've got a son who works for the San Diego Padres, and all he does is talk crap all the time about the Dodgers and, all those other things. But that's it. And that's what we're looking for. And I'll tell you, what I have found is that with this new flocking to Florida, we've really been seeing some great talent and hungry people. And that really does make a difference. Okay, a couple fun questions for you. Favorite color, Jordan?
Red. I guess you wouldn't have known that.
I would. And why red? Stops you on a dime. So we've all been trained, and I always felt like if our logo was red, people would pay attention to it. Okay. Favorite car?
I love the new Porsche Taycan. It's an electric car. I had lunch. You saw me last week with Mike, and I told him it is by far my favorite car. Now, I'm an old gearhead. So I used to work in a speed shop in New Jersey as a kid rebuilding engines. And I thought nothing could ever be better than this. I'm telling you all, it is an amazing car with amazing appointments. Porsche's knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know that, Jordan, because you have my car that Mike told me he had to sell to a client. But that's okay. We'll talk about that at a later time. Okay, next up, favorite university?
Well, I'm a bull at heart. So University of South Florida, Tampa. As Marc knows, I'm the chair of the board there. Not only did I go to school there, but I actually served as a trustee, and now I stepped up as the chair. So I love the university. Marc's son is so lucky. We have Coach Scott, who is probably came from Clemson, was the offensive coordinator. Everyone asks us how we got him, and it was a blessing that we got him. But Marc's son said when he left, I'm going to school there because those coaches, or that coach, Scott, will turn me into a man. Quote unquote. I will never forget when I heard that.
Yeah, and that's true. And my son had a number of offers to go to school, and Coach Scott was very passionate. My wife went on his official visit. I was busy working, but she was completely moved by him, and it was a great choice. So let's talk about, now that we're sort of going backwards, let's talk about you as an early entrepreneur. So I know your story, but I think you should share with everybody about sleeping on that couch, on that sleeper sofa, and that first year of getting in business and what you went through. Because I tell you, a lot of us can relate to that, and there's a lesson to be learned from there.
Well, Marc, it's I have the picture of my first office hanging on my timeline wall at the office. So you never want to forget where you came from. But I want to go back a little bit earlier just for a second. I started when I was 8 years old. I sold greeting cards door to door. Now, it doesn't sound like a great experience, but it was the experience of my life, because I learned the most valuable lesson. If you knock on enough doors, sooner or later, somebody's going to say yes. And you could apply that to everything you do in life. You learn that when somebody slams the door in your face, don't take it personally. When somebody yells at you, don't take it personally. And you learned how to charge and never look back. So when I was in school at the University of South Florida, we created the campaign, Just Say No. And Marc's aware of this. Most of my clients are aware of it. And we got to go to Washington, D.C., and present it in the White House to Mr. Nancy Reagan, to Vice President Bush, to the head of NIDA at the time. And I brought part of my team with me to Washington to present it. We presented in the Situation Room. From there, I wrote 46 letters to New York ad agencies, got 10 interviews, and I got zero offers. So I went back to school with my tail between my legs and got a job working at a small ad agency. And there I created my business plan to build Zimmerman. And I wanted to build the first business solutions firm, analytically driven, that happened to do advertising. But I had no money. No money. I was broke. So I started my firm with all the money that I had in the world back then, my bar mitzvah money, money that I had earned in college. So I scraped together $10,000 and I started the firm with $10,000 and the little office. But it was a sacrifice. You said it best. I was hungry, but I sacrificed. I slept in a back room on a sleeper sofa. I drove a 1973 Montego. If you don't know what it is, Google it. Is one ugly car. I
Ugly.
didn't have money to go to lunch. Didn't have money for breakfast. So if I didn't bring something from home, or if my mom didn't just throw me a couple of bucks, I couldn't eat. But I wasn't going to give up on the dream, because my business plan said I only had to sacrifice for 2.5 years and then I'd start making money. Well, 6.5 years later, I'm still sleeping in that back room and I couldn't afford to go on a date. So I'm like, what am I doing? And it just, what I could tell you is perseverance, never giving up on your dream, and never ever looking back and said, I wish I would have, I know I could have, has gotten us to where we're at today. But a lot of sleepless nights.
And you've made some very key decisions in that very early phase about leadership. And the reason I keep coming back to leadership, Jordan, is because obviously I know the workings of your company, and I know you, but you've had an interesting approach to leadership. So talk about leadership, because not only were you hungry, but you had to make some key decisions on people you trusted to get involved with your business.
So it's interesting because I believe leadership, a lot of great leaders are truly entrepreneurs that don't have the ability to hire great people, empower those great people to let them do their jobs and let them make mistakes, but coach them through the mistakes. Don't belittle them through those mistakes. And, you know, I've made plenty of them and I still make them today, but I tell everyone we need to learn from the mistakes, and I'll help you through those mistakes. You also have to have the fortitude to know when you got to cut bait, when you have a team around you that shouldn't be around you any longer. And that is the toughest part of management, because it's loyalty. And you feel guilty because some of the people have been with you for a long time. So in 1 year, I had my CEO, I had to leave, I had to get rid of, my president, my CFO, all in 1 year. And you ask yourself, and the last part of that was my human resources director. So what happens? We had the best year we ever had, because as Marc every day approaches work, I know this, so I work with him and I approach work. I approach it like it's my first day. And I approach it like I don't have two dimes to rub together, because I never went to work to make money. I went to work to do what I love to do. And that way, if the money never came, I'd be okay. So I was doing what I love to do. And if it came, I was blessed. And then I had an obligation to pay it forward. So paying it forward was very important to me, because I've been blessed with good success. But then again, how do I help others achieve their success as well?
And that leads into the question about education. So if you were giving advice to young folks today, or people not just in high school, but also going off to college and whatever, what would be some key skills that they should be paying attention to? And what should be some things they should be studying?
You know, I'm going to go back to Horatio. So for 1 second, I've never seen more students coming out of school, getting ready to go to college, that knew exactly what they wanted to do. I'm going to give you a statistic. 85% of the kids coming out of normal high school don't have any idea what they want to do. But all of these students did. And today, what I ask the parents and the students to think about is, what are the biggest degrees that are in demand? Computer science is absolutely huge. We don't have enough computer scientists out there right now. Computer science is huge. What is in demand and what is highest paying? And if you could focus on those areas, and your child, your student, your graduate has passion in that area at all, they should charge in that area and look at degrees that do not have in demand and do not have high paying. Now, let me stop there. Right now, our governor put something in right before to the Senate, put a bill in for teacher pay. He wanted to put $400 million more into teacher pay in the state of Florida. The bill passed unanimously. Now we will be one of the top 5 states for teacher pay. And that's really important because I always felt we underpaid our teachers, we underpaid our firemen, we underpaid our policemen. And I always felt that. I always felt we overpaid our athletes. And I said, we have to straighten this out because we don't want to lose the teachers that are teaching our students to the future and getting our students ready to run this world and this country that we've all loved and we've built.
So let's talk about, right, with teachers right there. Were any teachers mentors to you, or were there, other mentors that were eye-opening to you? And then go ahead, answer that question.
That's a really good question. There's always teachers in all of our lives that were special to us. They connected with us. They were great inspirational teachers, not lecturers. So I had a teacher in mathematics named Bob Friedman, and he was unbelievably great. This is in high school. And he really taught me the joy of math. And I thought it was great. And when you could say I enjoyed algebra, that's a treat in itself, because most people, he didn't make the connection to in that way. So I thought that was a really important part. I had met a guy on my paper route named Mr. Dazzo. And where I grew up in New Jersey, most of my parents' friends and most of my friends' parents hated what they did for a living. They weren't very happy people. And I asked my dad one day why. He said, well, they never valued education. They got married too young. They had kids too young, and they took any job they could get, and now they're stuck. So I'm like, I don't want to be anything like that. So find your passion in life. And I met a guy in my paper named Mr. Dazzo, and Mr. Dazzo was in the advertising business. The minute I met him and he was playing his piano, creating a jingle for Northwest Yellowbird. And I'm like, wow, what do you do? He said, I create jingles. I'm an executive creative director. Like, tell me more. And the more I learned, the more excited I became. So you never know where your inspiration is going to come from. And then I would tell everyone, when I was being inducted into the Heisinger Hall of Fame, I was really young, and I asked Mr. Heisinger, why you inducted me in? It's a Hall of Fame. My Hall of Fame, I'm too young to be in a Hall of Fame. He said, no. He said, Hall of Fame comes on accomplishments. And I'm like, okay, Wayne. He said, but when you look at mentors, who do you model yourself after? I said, if I model myself after anyone, I'd be an imitator instead of an originator. And Wayne said, that is the greatest line. That is the greatest line. So I really look at that each one of us has unique skill sets. And you know what? You're going to learn from others, but use the skill set you are and be who you are to have the greatest accomplishments you could have.
So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. So, one of the things that Drive Pink brought to me or educated us here at AutoNation was about the amazing work being done with cancer. And I will tell you that, we're about to approach $27 million raised and with our research centers, and we're about to make a big announcement with Cleveland Clinic and Memorial Hospital that's going to come up in September. And I have an appreciation for nurses and doctors through this pandemic like I've never had, and also the advice they give folks for treating cancer. What can we do, and what do you see as a way for us to really share with people about the impact that science, doctors, nurses make on our lives? Because I'm not sure people understand the value and the difference until they need them. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Mark. And I'm going to give you a right here, right now story. Last 3 weeks ago, I was with my father-in-law, and he fainted. And I thought, wow, it's weird, because he was getting up. He was petting the dog. He was standing up, and he got lightheaded and fainted. So then we were at breakfast, and he went outside, and he fainted again. I'm like, hey, man, we're going to a hospital. So I called over to Jessica at the Cleveland Clinic and said, look, my father-in-law just had 2 incidents, and I was up in Okeechobee. So I took him immediately to Stewart. They were unbelievable. When I say unbelievable, they were truly unbelievable. They had him diagnosed and taken care of. That was Sunday. It was Easter Sunday. Monday morning, they put a pacemaker in him. Tuesday morning, he left the hospital. And he's been 100% since then. but the care, the love, the patience, the understanding, the access was truly unbelievable. And we learned during the pandemic how valuable these first responders really are, how they put their lives on the line to an unknown virus and wanted to save lives, and how quickly the FDA worked, how quickly Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson worked with Operation Warp Speed to create a vaccine. And that vaccine has not only saved many lives, but it saved the world from who knows what could have happened without having our help.
It's interesting because when the pandemic hit, Mike came to me and said, okay, Mr. Crisis Managed Chairman, this is you. We got to get this thing going and get it up and running. And Mike and I talked a lot about it, and we had to make a lot of decisions every single day. And we put together a group of 5 doctors from across the country, because remember, we're a national company. And we were getting regular advice and having conversations all the time with these doctors. And it was amazing what was going on the front lines to add to that thing. And, we were making decisions, getting advice, Dr. Katz here at Memorial Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, David Akis, who's on CBS this morning from UCLA, is one of our advisors. And we were getting unbelievable insight. And I was so amazed by not only the work they were doing on the front lines, but the risk they were putting there. And, it's sort of, we instilled that, look, and we're humble car people. But again, we kept telling our folks, you got to make sure people can get on the road. You got to make sure they can drive. And you got to make sure people can get to where they need. We need police, hospitals, doctors. We need all those folks to have access. So I think you hit on a really, really good point. So let's talk a little bit about your goals. What would you like to achieve in the next year, year and a half? Because I think everybody's learned, whatever your 5-year plan was, this pandemic has made us all realize that we should be really looking at things in a year and 2 and 3 year windows. So where do you head now over the next 12 to 18 months?
It's interesting, as we put together our business plans, they're always 5-year plans. Sure, we have our 1 year, our 2 year, or 3 year, but our 5-year plan. And I'm really looking at, how do I balance my life better? Because what the pandemic taught us is that life truly is a gift, and it can be taken away at any time. And I want to be smarter with that balance. I want to empower, you and I spoke about at breakfast, I want to empower my team and promote some of the team to give them more responsibility within the agency. I don't want to be more of take a step back. And as Mike Devine or Ronnie Halligman or David Kissel say to me often, you're a great leader, but nobody opens up doors like you open up doors. And we have a pipeline in new business that's aligned right now that I believe will trajectory the agency even farther and better than we have before, with diversity, not only with the hires we're hiring, but with the accounts we're winning as well. So I think, if it's, to me, it's about how do we create more work-life balance, but how do we not lose that tenacity that we have and the edge we have and the speed to market that we have.
So one of the things we talked about at breakfast the other day was different clients with different styles, and that the pandemic created styles that who would have ever thought of. And I know you and I talked about a couple of different approaches you were taking with some of your clients. So I guess the question I ask you is, what has evolved with the pandemic and some people's new styles or new leadership that one you never expected, and how are you dealing with that?
Every client, like you and Mike, approach this probably, and not because you're my client, because I have many clients, you needed to keep those stores open, and you needed to keep people in the stores, and we needed to keep people on the road, and we needed to keep their cars serviced. So we couldn't shut down. So we had to stay open. And I thought what you did with your service discount was amazing, because it helped the first responders that were in their cars more than they've ever been before stay on the road safely, and stay on the road affordably. So I applauded you all for doing that. And we really got the word out there, and the people came, and they came in droves. I thought that was really important. Other clients have moved to Florida and they're running their companies out of Florida, even though they're based in many other states. And which to me is great because they're closer to me. But, sooner or later, they're either going to have to move the company to Florida or they're going to have to go back because they're leading a group of associates that need to be coached and inspired every single day. That's a surprise to me that people are doing that. For Bob Swindell, for UI, for the Fort Lauderdale Alliance, for the great leadership in Fort Lauderdale, this is a great time. We cannot keep our real estate on the market. It sells, and if it's either bid up or sells in 2 to 3 days, which is pretty incredible. So I was talking to Howard Lauber. He owns Douglas Element. He's chairman of the board I wouldn't say founder. He bought it about 30 years ago. And I was talking to Howard. I said the prices in South Florida are ridiculously high. I said, when's the bubble going to burst? He said, there's no bubble. You guys were severely underpriced for too long. And that's coming from a real estate expert in the Northeast. And he said, why would anybody want to live in New York at those exorbitant prices when you can live in beautiful South Florida with all the advantages of living in South Florida, not only the taxes, but also the lifestyle and the cost of living. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
What do you see as one of the big things our community should focus on? I was on the commission meeting the other day, and I applaud them for appointing Monica to follow Bertha. And one of the interesting things she talked about was transportation. And I think that's interesting because I'm not close to that type of issue with what's going on in some of the government things, but what do you see as things that we really need to focus on here in not just South Florida, but specifically Broward?
BCT, Broward County Transit, has never truly grown into the transit authority they could be. And I agree that we need to focus on it. I know that Elon Musk has talked about making a super highway under the underground, or a super train underground in Broward County. I think we're about to have an evolution in transportation like we've never seen, both in city, state, but also in how we transport ourselves in this electrification that is coming. I think in Broward County, I think they've had a lot of we've been very fortunate during all of these demonstrations that our Sheriff's Department has done an outstanding job of keeping demonstrations to a minimal in South Florida. There's been no havoc, there's been no fires, there's none of that. And I think our leadership in South Florida is some of the best leadership we've ever had. We're really blessed. When we saw the mayor the other day, the mayor's done a terrific job and he stepped into some really big shoes. I also think having our sports teams here is really important for the culture. Having your museums is really important for the culture of South Florida. And I think our school systems in South Florida are going to improve because of teacher pay, which is super important. We have a great governor who said, going back to school, and I want all the kids in the classroom, which is really important. We also have great private schools in South Florida. So it was great. I've lived down here over 40 years. I've watched the community grow and mature, but most importantly, I've watched the leadership in this unbelievable community really step up and be incredible leaders for the people. And they haven't forgot that they work for the people.
Yeah. It was interesting because somebody made the comment to me. I was over in the Tampa, St. Pete area, and they made the comment to me that unfortunately Congressman Hastings passed away. A great man, great leader, but the quality of folks running for his seat is incredible. And a lot of communities can't say they have that kind of leadership running there. And I think that tells a lot about the quality of people here in South Florida. So you wrote a book.
There you go.
Okay, it's a really good book. Don't come up with the crazy idea that every customer who buys a car gets a book.
I was just going to suggest that.
It's a
How
bad
come you
idea.
didn't do that for me?
Bad idea, yeah, because me. That's not that. We're not going there. Talk a little bit about the book, because obviously I've read the book, but share a couple of things that the book brings, because actually it is a great read.
Well, thank you, Marc. I wrote the book because people like you told me I needed to write a book, and then my family told me I needed to write a book, so I decided I was going to write a book. The book really is about never giving up on what you believe. And really, it's a book. I never expected it to be an inspirational book, but my letters I get say, the book changed my life. I realized that anything is possible. So the book's first chapter opens up and it says, you're reading this book because you're tired of your own bullshit. And it's really, we can either look in the mirror and know who we are and know where we want to take ourselves as brands, or we don't. And I think that if you're not honest with yourself, you can't be honest with the world, and you're never going to be who you really should be in this world. And you're going to look back at 70 and 80 and 90 years old and say, I wish I would have, I know I could have. So I wrote the book to inspire others to do great things with their lives, to never, ever have regrets in life, and to continue to push forward every day, set reasonable goals. And then as you accomplish that goal, go to the next goal, the next goal, and the next goal. And it's been an amazing journey because I self-published the book because I wanted it to be in my words. And I've sold millions. I can't believe how many have bought. And everything they told me, the book companies told me they didn't want me to do, I did anyways. And it's worked exceptionally well. So I'm blessed to be able to do that.
Two quick questions, because in the book you sort of talk about these. If you're a small business, what do you recommend and how do you recommend they advertise?
You know, it's great. We are so fortunate today, small business men and women. You have an ability to use connected television around your location. You can go out 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. You can connect with them on digital TV. Connected TV can connect to your ABC network, to your NBC network, to your Fox network, connect any of the cable stations you want to go to, any program you want to connect to, you can. So Marc and I don't have to buy the whole ADI anymore. We could buy messaging around every one of our stores, and it's going to look like it's regular television. You can never tell the difference of that. And you could do the same thing around your store with YouTube. You could do the same thing with Facebook, with Instagram, with TikTok. Again, this is a new age of marketing and advertising.
And then the final question I have is, what's the next big thing in advertising? What do you see being developed?
You know, Marc, attribution, and I know you and I are working on something right now in attribution. Attribution is the biggest thing. We have now dashboards we built for every client. And up on top of the dashboard, we optimize based on what's happening in the media so that we can get a better return on our investment. But we're building algorithm-driven attribution modeling into the dashboard that'll feed to the optimization of your media plan in that dashboard, that'll make recommendations to the planners and buyers that are there working on that, which is way ahead. And we build, as Marc knows, we have a full DevCom department. We build a lot of this in-house. We have an incredible gentleman running it, Phil Bannister. He's been with us 18 years. He's a workhorse. And I don't give enough credit to all the people that work here at Zimmerman, all the great associates that have put their time, their energy, their skills, their family time into this great company and the great clients. You know, when you walk off an elevator in Zimmerman, it says relentlessly pursue the client's goal, never rest in the glory. It's not about us. We're fortunate to be able to have these great clients and do the work, but when they're successful, we're successful.
So before I turn it back to Bob, final question. You only get to give me three things. So it's 3 words. What would you recommend to the young Jordan who's starting out? Because a lot of people on this call have young Jordan starting out. What are the 3 words you would give them as advice?
Hunger. You and I agree 100% on that. Perseverance and passion.
I couldn't agree anymore. So Jordan, this was absolutely fabulous today. Thank you so much. And you know, we're a tough client and we're really tough sometimes to deal with. And Jordan and the agency have done great work. And during this pandemic, it's been amazing about how you guys have risen to the occasion. And I thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership in the community. And you know, I look forward to many more years together with AutoNation and Zimmerman. So with that, Bob, I'm going to kick it back to you and thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Marc. And that was a great interview. And you're an incredible client and an incredible friend. I appreciate you.
Bob, we're going to kick it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. thank you, Jordan. As I had expected, we were not disappointed. You guys were fantastic. A couple things that you didn't touch on, and part of it is, two large companies in South Florida. And I always tell small business people that, big companies like Zimmerman, like AutoNation are important to small business. And I see how much business you both bring back to the community and do business with small businesses in Broward, and really emphasizes the importance of headquarters here. What an authentic conversation. Jordan, you touched on a lot of things, but, folks may not realize that the last couple of years of high school, you went to Piper and you're a local Broward Public School grad, and you go back to your school and have helped that school. It's just another part of how you're engaged in the community. Again, appreciate both of you. And I want to thank Gail Wolfen as well, because it was her idea to bring this unique opportunity to Alliance members. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I want to thank our sponsors again, who are listed on the screen, and especially our media sponsor, the South Florida Business Journal. In this week's issue, you'll find an in-depth look at how remote work has resulted in housing price hikes that are reshaping communities. And Jordan and Marc touched on this with people relocating here. It's another and unique way that housing is being impacted from a cost perspective, and really exacerbates our challenge with workforce housing and housing for the folks who live here and take care of us, provide us with services, because we had this unique impact on the market with external forces coming into our market, driving up prices. Good thing, but we need to be able to also come up with a way to balance that for the working folks who live here and are raising families here. Also, in this week's Business Journal, there's two special reports, one about the region's employers with their diversity and inclusion initiatives, and also something we're all talking about as business people and the folks we work with is a mental wellness survey, and illuminating how workers have fared through the pandemic. I think this has become a very individualized issue, as how people have dealt with sheltering at home and the isolation that's been caused by the pandemic. I think we're going to be looking at this and hearing a lot more about the residual impacts of this pandemic. So please, look at the journal and get caught up on some of their coverage. Also, this month on the 21st, we have our Alliance mid-year lunch at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel, May 21st. Please plan to attend and join us. It's going to be an in-person event. Great to be able to get back to the traditional way that we connect people. And also on May 21st, the South Florida Business Journal will have a story on today's leadership series session. And we'll be posting today's session on our website, gflalliance.org/speakers series. We'll post next week on Wednesday. So I'd encourage you to pass that information along. The entire series of leadership speakers that we've had this year are on that website. As some folks have told me, it's like getting a mini MBA lesson in a quick hour when folks share some of their leadership lessons in life. Our next leadership series will be on Friday, June 4th. It will be Ted Christie, the president and CEO of Spirit Airlines, and our own Marc Gale, the president and CEO of FLL International Airport. Thank you, and we are adjourned.